Welcome to Comic Station issue number 86 for August 20th, 2014. As this is another one of our special at-home editions, we're going to try to go through this fairly quickly and succinctly. So first off coming up is Grimm Fairy Tales number 101. While normally we try to do issue number ones, we did want to point this out, one, because of the milestone. Just reaching 101 is amazing for Zenescope, but also that this is touted as a jumping on point since there are so many. First of all, background helps, but not needed. But definitely helps. At one point, one of the characters explains this very well and sums it up exactly what I was thinking. This is the X-Men meets Hogwarts. They are a group of characters coming all together, and it is now some of the characters that you may know from other Grimm Fairy Tales titles, basically forming a school, training the next Realm Knights. X-Men meets Hogwarts. Sums it up pretty well. Artwork is great as always, and it's just good to see that Zenescope is continuing on, and it looks like it's going to be a different take from what has been happening recently. Next up, from Image Comics, we have The Fade Out, number 1, and best way to explain this one, this is a murder mystery set in the 1948 Hollywood. So it is very murder mystery, classical, could be a screenplay for a classic 50s murder mystery set. Hollywood has its own intrigues, own murders, own mysteries, and there is a cover-up, there's mystery, there's drunken nights and fistfights with Bob Hope mentioned, at least, and a number of other characters, but essentially it comes down to a drunken night, a murder, and whodunit. Next we have from Dynamite Comics is Justice Inc. I was interested in this one because, honestly, right from the cover I recognized Doc Savage, and having read the books that my dad has in his library, I was interested in it, and this one has, as the cover says, the Shadow, Doc Savage, and the Avenger. However, there's also Albert Einstein, H.G. Wells, and it's interesting because it's taking these classic characters that really had their heyday set really in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and set in modern day, finding a time machine and going back. So while it's an old-fashioned comic with modern artwork that I really liked, the time travel, never been a fan terribly of time travel. However, this really doesn't stand up to my however, unfortunately. It really does feel like too much. The time travel adds complexity, mechanics to it, theories, and the menagerie of all the characters together, it never felt like a Doc Savage comic. It never felt like a Shadow comic. And it just does feel like a little too much at once. Fans of the series may want to pick it up though, just because of the novelty and the interest of it. Finally, from Valiant, we have the Delinquents, and this takes two of probably the funniest characters in the whole Valiant lineup. Is Archer and Armstrong end up crossing paths with Quantum and Woody. Now in issue number 1 itself, they don't technically cross paths yet, but one group becomes aware of the other. It drags a little bit. It definitely is. This issue is definitely more set up. It didn't have some of the crazy antics and humor that I was really acquainted with, having read Quantum and Woody the first few volumes, and it just really is more set up. And it is the search for the hobo treasure. There's hobo code, there's hobo jokes. It's funny, it's interesting, but it's not quite up to the level that I was expecting, considering the craziness of these two groups of characters, these 4 characters. But it definitely is setting them up to have a head-on collision, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of carnage is wreaked from that. Finally, for the reviews on frontwardsgamer.com, I did want to mention Lido has a review for one of Zenescope's other titles, Robin Hood #1. I'm really looking forward to reading that. Written by Pat Shan. Robin Hood is one of Grimm Fairy Tales, Zenescope's tentpole titles. Really love the character, so I'm really looking forward to this ongoing series that she has. And of course, there's also Steampunk Battlestar Galactica 1880 #1 review also up, because it's Battlestar Galactica with steampunk, and why not just mash those two together? Everything's steampunk something or other nowadays. Seems really weird. And of course, going along with the videos, if you've been keeping up with The Strain, not the comic book but the television show, episode number 6 has a review up, and Alito is continuing on with that series. Like I said, this is going to be a fairly short episode. Thank you very much for watching this week for issue number 86 for August 20th, 2014. And we will be having some of these shorter, more shot-at-home videos and audio coming out for the next few weeks until we get back on the schedule going to the comic station shooting on location. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.